Hello guys, welcome to another video of my Tech Tips channel. Today we're going to learn how to create a virtual machine. The easiest way to do that is using a Hyper-V. But first we need to make sure that you have Hyper-V enabled on your system on Windows 10. But before we get started, I'll quickly show you there are a couple of softwares that you might be familiar with, but they are a little bit different. I'll show you in my browser. I have opened up their websites as a VMware and VirtualBox. However, these softwares have their own pros and cons. The main key over here is the cost of the virtual machine. As you all know, Hyper-V is provided by Microsoft, so it comes free with your Windows 10 Pro. So you have to make sure that you have Windows 10 Pro installed on your system. So the easiest way to check if you have Windows 10 Pro installed, just follow this on-screen instructions. As you click on this PC and click on the properties, as you can see, I have Windows 10 Pro Edition installed. Now to enable Hyper-V, you have to type in the search box Hyper. As you type Hyper, if you don't have any software installed that is named Hyper, that should still come up. Turn off Windows features on and off. When you open it up, you will see a Hyper-V option. You check that and you click OK, and then it has to restart the system to complete the installation of Hyper-V environment. As you click on restart, I'll quickly cut that part out and my system will be rebooted. As you can see, my Windows is turned on now. Now you can see if I type Hyper-V here, it should come up Hyper-V Manager, and when you click on Hyper-V Manager, it will come up with a screen where you can create your virtual machines. But before we get started with creating a virtual machine, we need to configure a virtual switch so you can have access to your physical network if you want to. And if you do not want to access to your physical network, you can leave that part out. But if you're using this for your server or any experimental purposes, you have to understand the difference between different switches here. So when we click on new virtual machine, you will see three switches: external, internal, and private. Now external switch will allow you to have access to your physical network. However, internal switch will allow you to have access on the physical machine to your virtual machine. But private switch will only allow you to access only virtual machines. So communication between virtual machine will be done by private switch if you want that. So you might be using in your environment private switch or external switch if you're using multiple virtual machines. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and select external and create an external switch. So to do that, click on external and then create new virtual switch. And you have to name here so you can differentiate your different virtual switches if you have multiple. You have to type external or internet or whatever you prefer so you can differentiate those different switches. Once you have write down that, you have to select the appropriate Ethernet adapter that has access to physical network. And as you can see, I have multiple adapters here. I'm going to select this 2.5 gig channel because that's what I'm using for my internet. So we're going to go ahead and click on 2.5 gig family controller and then hit apply and then press OK. It will create a virtual switch. Now it will take a few seconds and then your virtual switch will be created. And once we have done that, we are actually ready to go ahead and create a new virtual machine. Now I don't prefer to click on quick create. I always go for new and create virtual machine. And once you click on that, just click on next. We don't need to do anything on that screen. And we have to specify a name and a location if you want to change the location. But I'm going to go ahead and try to install Windows 10 Pro on my virtual machine. Once you write that down, you click on next, and you can also select what generation you're going to install. But I always prefer to select generation 1 because it will support 32-bit and 64-bit operating systems. Once you have done that, you go ahead and click on next to assign the memory. And once we are assigned memory tab, it will come up with startup memory of 1024 MB, but I would like to change it to 2048 to 2 GB, as I have plenty of memory to spare in my system, but you can leave it on default on 1 gig. Now we're going to go ahead after changing the memory to configure networking. First, let me just write down 2048 and hit next. And now we are on a networking tab. As we can see, our internet switch is already here. Now click on next. Now, if you want to use an already pre-existing virtual machine image, you can do that and click on browse. If you're going to create a new virtual machine, you might want to just leave it on default. And you can also change the location here. Using an existing virtual machine is this option. If you want to click on that and use your pre-configured existing virtual machine. But we're going to create a new virtual machine and we're going to hit next. Now on the next screen, as we can see, it will ask us if you want to install it later or if you want to do the installation on the virtual machine right now. So we're going to go ahead and click on install an operating system from a bootable CD/DVD-ROM, and we're going to use an ISO file. You have to just click on that and hit browse and just browse to your ISO file and select, as we're going to select Windows 10 ISO, and hit open. As soon as you do that, you go ahead and click next. Now we have finished creating our virtual machine. Now we have to do the installation on our virtual machine. But before we do that, we do need to change a little bit settings, because by default it assigns only one virtual processor and your virtual machine will be very slow. So if you have few processors to spare, I would go ahead and change that number of processors. So I'm going to go ahead and select 4 processors because my system is 8 processor. So I have plenty of processors to spare here, but it also depends on the needs of your virtual machine. But I just want it to run really smooth, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and press OK. As you can see, our memory requirements are already pre-configured here, and it's a dynamic memory, so it will keep changing with the requirements. And I will also quickly show you some memory settings you don't want to touch. As you can see over here, you can specify how to prioritize the availability of memory for this virtual machine as compared to other virtual machines on this computer. You don't want to change that setting unless you want to, and you're running a really high intensive CPU required or memory required virtual machine. So we're going to go ahead and press OK, and now we are ready to start. So you click on next, connect, and then click on start button, and you will see the Windows installation options here. So I'm going to fast forward this part because I ran into some trouble installing this Windows operating system. I'm going to go ahead and change it to Windows Server ISO file and going to go ahead and fast forward the installation for you. So now our installation has completed. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up a password for my Windows Server. And because Windows Server by default requires you to type in password, But in other Windows Home Edition or Pro Edition, you can get away with that. But it also a good measure of security to have a password on your virtual machine. Now, as you can see, we come up on the screen to use press Control Alt and Delete. You don't want to do that on your keyboard. You want to click on Action and select that particular option. Now we type in our password, and there we go. Our Windows have installed. But there is another thing to note down. Many users, what they will do is why their virtual machine isn't running in full screen mode. But the only way to do that is you have to actually restart your virtual machine. But before you go ahead and restart the virtual machine, if you're wondering to try all the options that are listed, they will not work, because it is a default feature of this Hyper-V that you have to actually restart your virtual machine, and it will come up with the option if you want to run it in a full screen mode. So as you can see, I have tried everything, nothing is working out, and it will still run in windowed mode, and it's not going to give us the full screen. And make sure before you restart your virtual machine, you have actually ejected the ISO file. So to do that, you have to click on media and click on CD DVD and eject that. I have done that when I was fast forwarding the video. So as you can see, in DVD drive there is no drive listed here. Now once you have made sure that all of your settings are pre-configured and they're configured really well, before you go ahead, I'm just quickly making sure nothing else needs to be changed, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and then we're going to shut down our virtual machine. And once you click on shut down, it will take a little bit of time depending on the speed of your system that you're using. It also depends how many processors you have assigned. And you go ahead and close that virtual machine window, and then click on virtual machine and connect, and then we're going to go ahead and start again. Now this option will come up sometimes. You just want to hit continue, and if you're thinking your virtual machine has crashed and it didn't work properly last time, you want to click on revert. So once we click on start again, it will take a little bit of time again depending on the speed of your system. So you have to wait a little while. As you can see, now our system is starting up. And also by default, if you're getting confused why my sound system at the right bottom of my virtual machine is not working, why it has a cross, because I have installed Windows Server Edition, and server by default the audio is disabled. You have to actually enable the audio to be able to use or watch any videos or any sound, listen any sound on your system. It's just a default Windows Server feature. Now I'm just quickly showing you while it's starting up. It's not showing up us the option if you want to run it in full screen mode, but you don't need to get confused. You just have to wait a little while it's starting up. So we might want to bring it in windowed mode again and see if that option comes up. It's taking a little bit of time, even though I'm using 4 virtual processors. It might be a little bit even slower while starting the virtual machine if you're using 2 processors. It also depends on the speed of your hard drive, as I'm using SSD, and this is how fast can be, and I cannot make it more faster. So if you're using a normal HDD, so do not get confused why your virtual machine is very slow, because it depends on all the factors, that what kind of processor you're using and how many processors you have assigned and how much memory you have assigned, and also what kind of drive you're using. I would always like to use SSDs for my default operating system if I'm working with virtual machines. So it's nearly starting up now. I'm just quickly making sure I haven't missed out anything to run it in full screen mode. The reason why it's taking a little bit of time, let's have a look what it's actually doing in the background. On the screen, as you can see, under status is merging progress, because we had to click on continue if your virtual machine has crashed, but I don't know why it has come up. But finally we have come up to the screen where it's asking what size of the screen you want to run it for. So we're going to go ahead and just slide that all the way to large and click at the bottom, show options, and use all my monitors. If you have multiple monitors, if you want to use all of them, and I always like to click on save my settings for future connections to this virtual machine, because I don't want to run into any trouble and keep clicking on large and click on connect. There are other features or settings you might want to change. As you can see under audio, by default it is selected remote audio, and when you click on more, there are other options what drives you want to connect, and I'm going to go ahead and select actually OneDrive just to show you how it works. And it's not going to disconnect this physical drive from your actual system. It's just going to create another connection. So you go ahead and select this personal D drive. As there is no data in this D drive, I'm going to go ahead and select that drive and hit OK. There are other options to support plug and play devices on your virtual machine. Now we hit OK, and we're going to just click on action to use the Control Alt Delete feature, and then just basically enter your password. Now you can see it's running in the full screen mode. Now once we type in the password, we are on the main screen. First thing we want to check if we are using our D drive on this, and how it's working and how it looks like on your virtual machine. When we click on this PC, you can see D on Rami Singh. This is the drive actually that has created a network connectivity with this drive, not an actual physical connection. It hasn't disconnected from your actual physical machine. And we quickly created a new folder just to check we have done it right. And as you can see, new folder is here that we just actually created from the virtual machine. Now everything is done for now. This is how you quickly create a virtual machine. And if you like the video, please click and like and subscribe to my channel. And if you want more videos on any topic or any tech tips, please send me a message or write down a comment. Thanks for watching.